Okay, this video is just a quick summary of how to improve immune function. First of all, is you want to stay warm. The reason we get a fever when we have an infection is because that improves the ability of the immune system to function. The immune system is white blood cells that travel around the body through the lymphatics, searching for infectious particles to remove them from the body. Okay, so basically when you're warm, they can travel faster. What these white blood cells do is they bump into other cells and they feel them. It's all done by Braille. And they check if they feel something that doesn't belong. It's a foreign invader to the human body. Okay, and then they will remove it. So the point I'm saying is they travel faster when you're warmer, so that improves immune function. The second thing is to exercise a lot. When you exercise, you contract your muscles. Your arteries and your veins, they have the blood pumped by the heart. There's a little bit more to how blood is pumped than just the heart, but that's basically the main thing. The cardiac contraction, the Wind-Kessel effect in the ascending thoracic aorta. And at the capillary level, there's a couple little things about how oxygen is delivered that also facilitate flow of the white blood cell and the red blood cell. Okay, but the point is, you don't have any pump connected to the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system of your white blood cells traveling through parallel vessels that are adjacent to your arteries and veins is by contraction of the muscles. So the more you exercise, you can increase lymphatic flow dramatically, like 10-fold, 30-fold, and that increases the ability of the body's white blood cells, your immune system, to remove infections, to remove cancer cells, and to remove anything else that needs to be removed. Okay, so you want to exercise a lot. A lot of the people with the greatest recoveries from cancer have been people who exercise a lot. The real famous Ruth Heidrich's PhD lady, she was doing triathlons and marathons, okay, and she survived metastatic breast cancer. She's still alive after over 40 years, okay. There's other people who make great survivals, like Janet Murray Wakelin. She wrote that book, Raw Can, You Know What? I'm not even going to say the word C, U, and then R and E, cancer. Anyways, she survived decades after metastatic breast cancer, and there's other ones. Okay, so exercise improves immune function. The next thing is you want to avoid excessive stress, because the hormones elevated in stress are catecholamines like adrenaline and noradrenaline, and cortisol. Okay, cortisol is the big one. Cortisol will suppress immune function. The idea is that the body, during a time of stress, it's made to survive the next 15 minutes, next hour, running from a tiger or being chased in the dark. And so you have limited resources in the body. When your life's in danger, you have to dedicate all of those resources to rapid physical movement to survive. Okay, that's all that matters. You don't need to worry about long-term immune function goals when you're just trying to survive the next 10 minutes. So it shuts off the immune system. Okay, so what that means is you don't want that. If you have sleep deprivation, that will elevate the same hormones as the acute stress response, catecholamines and cortisol. That's also why caffeine is so stupid, because it elevates the same hormones. That's also why I tell you caffeine is a good thing to be aware of. Whenever you hear a doctor tell you that caffeine is good for you and 3 cups of coffee a day is okay, most of the time they're just ignoramuses who have not studied and they don't know what they're talking about it, but it's so obviously untrue it's not even funny. And I've also told you lots of them say that because you have to promote popular foods to get on the bro science circuit, to get on the high-fat phony interview circuit, but you should know they're bullshitting you, okay? So they're either lazy ignoramus or they're a liar, okay? Really, trust me, there's no money in helping the pros. Money comes from tricking the pros. Okay, avoid corticosteroid medications. If you can help it in any way possible, avoid stimulants. Again, they're going to ramp up your body and make it harder for you to sleep. And that can be anything from, besides caffeine, there's also all these excitotoxin things. There's also those medications for attention deficit like Adderall and stuff. And excitotoxins include things like aspartame, the sweetener, glyphosate, sprayed on non-organic corn and soy, especially soy, and other things too, non-organic beans, other things too. So you want to avoid all that stuff. You want to avoid processed foods. I never would eat anything with more than one ingredient. Okay, avoid high-fat foods. This lady, Lydia Lynch, she's from Ireland, then she went to Harvard for a while, PhD lady. I think she's now going to Princeton. She has a really good lecture at Global Immunotalks where she shows their research, how it shows that dietary fat just paralyzes the immune system. Also, she talked about how just being obese leads to paralyzes the immune system too, significantly decreases its ability to function. You also want to avoid acidity. Now, there's a lady by the name of Veronica Huber. She wrote a good paper on this. In the beginning line of the paper title is Cancer Acidity. It's in the seminars. I think it might be in Cancer Biology. It's seminars in something, 2017. But metabolic acidosis paralyzes the immune system. She even said acidosis is like a global shield to block the function of the immune system. Animal protein is the most acidic thing that we put into our bodies. Animal protein puts in a big acid load. I learned about this first from Dr. McDougall. I learned a lot of things from Dr. McDougall, and I think it's kind of funny. A lot of these Irish people, Dr. McDougall, Lydia Lynch, this guy Luke O'Neill, I'll mention their names in a moment here, some more. Anyways, animal protein is quite acidic. Grains can have a little bit of mild acidity. Fruits and vegetables are alkaline, so that helps your immune system to work. So it's another reason why a plant-based diet improves immune system function. Also, sodium chloride, salt, causes a little bit of metabolic acidosis as well. The chlorine in excessive amounts will displace the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is a buffer of acid. Okay, so when you lower your bicarb, your blood will be more trended into metabolic acidosis, and that will decrease immune function. Okay, so you want to avoid that. Avoid added salt. Avoid processed food that has tons of salt, and and avoiding meat too. A lot of times it's flavored with the salt, or they inject it into the animals, like the chicken, to make it weigh more and sell it for more. What else? You want to avoid basically all the risk factors for atherosclerosis, including the risk factors for hypertension, high-fat diet and sodium, okay? Risk factors for diabetes, especially high-fat diets. There's a little more to that than that, elevated uric acid from high fructose corn syrup as well. But the things that cause atherosclerosis, those same risk factors will then cause tissue hypoxia. For all those three reasons, hypertension and diabetes, cause atherosclerosis. And then they also, are sort of like an overnutrition abundance. They'll have a tendency to activate mTOR, and speed up, accelerate the arrival of the tissue at the Hayflick limit. I've given lectures on all this stuff before, but the bottom line is they're all bad for immune system. And I see that in old people. Their immune system is basically shrunken. If I look at a CT of the neck, in a young person, they're going to have big honking lymph nodes all over the place in their neck. That's normal. Whereas when you look at the CT of an older person, the older they get, the more all those lymph nodes shrink. That's why the lymph node biopsy criteria are different for an old person versus a young person. Okay, I've done thousands of neck biopsies, and I can tell you, when they tried using the old people lymph node criteria with young people, I keep getting all these referrals for unnecessary biopsies. Okay, avoid leaky gut, because the things that cause leaky gut can cause systemic inflammation, neuroinflammation. They're prothrombotic when you get the bacterial endotoxins in the blood, like LPS from gram-negative bacteria, LTA from gram-positive bacteria. Then the stuff from the Douglas Calatheresia praetorius papers. They cause amyloid clotting, so they make the blood prothrombotic. They can also get across the blood-brain barrier and cause neuroinflammation, because when you got leaky gut, you tend to have leaky blood-brain barrier. Okay, and you also are predisposed to increased risk of leaky kidney barrier. They're bad for kidney function. Okay, so it all goes in a bad direction. So I made separate videos on how to avoid leaky gut. You want to avoid all that stuff. Avoid mitochondria inhibitors. So Luke O'Neill, the other Irish PhD scientist who studies immune function, he says that mitochondria are the center of the immune system. So he didn't mention mitochondria inhibitors, but I am, because he says they're the center of the immune system and shows how you need a lot of energy generated by mitochondria. So, you can't do that if you got a bunch of mitochondrial inhibitors on board. You're going to be limited in your ability to do that. Okay. Obviously, the immune system is much more complicated than just that. And when it's deep in a wound, the immune cells can function on glycolytic metabolism. They have to, because there's no oxygen deep in a wound. But I'm still making the point, you want your immune system to be well energized, so they need good mitochondria, so it's good to avoid all those mitochondrial inhibitors. So anyways, this is real fast stuff you could do. Get your exercise, stay warm, avoid unnecessary stress, avoid caffeine, avoid high-fat foods, no animal foods, avoid animal protein, and then avoid all the things that cause leaky gut. That's all doable, and avoid mitochondrial inhibitors. So anyways, hope that helps.